Hey everybody, today I'm going to demonstrate how to change the saw blade on my Ryobi compound miter saw. So stick around and enjoy the fun. My name is James and you have found your way to Homestyle Woodcrafts. I have a Ryobi model TS1340 compound miter saw. It's an old one. I've had it for probably a couple of decades now. And I've never had another one, so I don't know how similar this process will be to other brands or models of a compound miter saw. Hopefully though, this will give you an idea, if you don't have this exact model, how it might work for yours. But I would encourage you to refer to your owner's manual to get the exact steps to make sure you're doing it correctly and safely. If you don't still have your owner's manual, a lot of times you can find them online, so I'd encourage you to do that. Now, the first time I did this for myself, I have to admit, I found it intimidating, the thought of it. And so if you're newer to this and you're feeling a little like that, don't worry, you just follow the steps outlined and you'll do great. So first I'm going to talk you through this process and then I'll walk you through this process with as little rhyming as possible. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this bolt. And then we're going to rotate the blade guard up out of the way and the blade bolt cover, which is this piece. It's probably a little hard to see right now. And then we will remove the blade bolt, which you can't see because it's hidden by all the stuff. We will then remove the blade bolt, the outer blade bolt washer, and remove the blade. And at this point, if you have a new blade, you would put it on. I'm going to be putting back on my old blade. And we're going to reinstall the outer blade bolt washer, then reattach or put the blade bolt back in. And then we will put the blade guard and the blade bolt cover back into place and put this bolt back into place. And then we'll be all done. And then I'll demonstrate that it actually works and the blade will not fly off while you're sawing. So let's go. So step one, please make sure that your saw is not plugged in. This is the most important thing. You've probably heard me say, if you've watched any of my other videos, that I like these guys way more than I like any of my projects. And so first thing to do is make sure your saw is unplugged. Now I'm going to be using this little wrench that came with the saw. It's got a little hex side and then a Phillips screwdriver one side. And this is all the tool that I'll be using. I'm afraid I don't know the size of the hex key. And I'm going to try to position myself so you can see what I'm doing. But the first thing is to take off this little bolt right here. Voila, step one. I guess that's step two if unplugging the saws, step one. Anyway, we'll probably lose track of the steps really fast. Important thing, put this somewhere where you won't lose it. It's tiny. The next thing to do is rotate the blade guard up and out of the way. And to do that, you're going to need to push up on this arm so that it will move. And doing this rotates the blade bolt guard out of the way. That's what this thing is right here. You can just kind of move it up out of the way and it will rest up here. And that exposes the blade bolt, and the outer blade bolt washer. Now, when we're doing this, it's important to lock the spindle of this or the blade will just spin. And so what I'm going to suggest to do is put this in the blade bolt right here like this. Depress the spindle lock, which is on the other side of the blade, just to the left of the handle. And then I'm going to depress that, and then that will lock into place now. Then I can go ahead and loosen this up. Now, to loosen it up, you'll need to go clockwise. There we go. So I can pull that out. That's a close-up of the blade bolt. And then I can take the outer blade bolt washer off. And I can remove the blade. Of course, the blade is sharp, so be careful. This is when you would put the new blade on. So we're going to do that. We're going to pretend this is a new blade. Oh, before we do that, let me point out, there's the inner blade bolt washer right here. You don't need to remove that. And you want to make sure that you have both of them to hold the blade in solidly to be safe. Now there's very little clearance with that between where the blade mounts and the hole in the blade. So you got to make sure it's straight on or you'll have a little trouble. So now I replace the outer blade bolt washer. Put it on there, like that, and it will just sit on the very edge, okay? And now I put the blade bolt back in. And you will rotate it counterclockwise. And of course, and you'll need to depress the spindle and to tighten it up. Okay, snug. Very important point. You will notice that the blade, here I'm going to bring you close, okay? You'll notice that the blade points are pointing down. That's because the cutting action happens in this motion. And so when you install the blade, you want to make sure that the teeth on this outer edge are pointing down. All right, so that's back in place. The washer's in place, the blade bolt's in place. I'm going to rotate this back down. And that rotates the blade bolt cover back into place. And I can put this little bolt back in. Just like that, see that? And tighten that back up. And this one tightens normal, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay, and that's that. So now the blade guard's back into place. And it looks to be operational. So let's give it a try. One thing I love about working with wood and tools is I love working with tools. And I love it when I have just the right tool for a job, and I like knowing how to work on my own tools and understanding how they work. If you enjoy the same things, keep watching some of these other videos that I make, and like this one and subscribe, and I would love to hear your comments, so leave them below. So when you use your tools, I just encourage you to use the appropriate safety gear. I'm going to put mine on, and then I'm going to cut a scrap of wood just to demonstrate that the installation of our quote-unquote new blade was successful. I'm going to do a couple of quick tests to make sure it works, and then I'll cut. Okay, looks good. And we have success. We have successfully changed our blade and safely made a cut. So, like I said, if you're new to this, you can do it. And knowing how to use the tools that we have, whichever set of tools we happen to have, lets us do the kind of woodworking that we want to do safely and effectively. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.